If I'm remembering correctly, it's either at the beginning of Bleak House or Dickens' His Hard Times, where one of the characters says, "I just want the facts, just the facts." But your approach in the movie isn't just the facts. I mean, it is a drama. You turn it into drama as you turn it into cinema. It's not simply a documentary on a con artist or an imposter, as I think would be the first thing that some people would try to do with the Douglas Street story. Why did you reject the idea of a documentary and decide to do a drama?
Well, because everybody tells the story in drama story ways. I assure you that if Doug were sitting here right now, and I've got a photograph of Doug Street here when we signed the contract with him in '87, but Doug would want each of you to think that he is a really smart, witty guy. And he told his whole story to me over 4 years, wanting to impress me with how, yeah, he had done things that had gotten him into jail. He had endangered women's lives by cutting them open and performing hysterectomies without having gotten out of high school even. But he really wants you to know that he could romance any one of you, and you would think he's just the greatest guy and be impressed with him. And I assure you, we only cover from Doug from 78 to 84, 85, but Doug continued to go on, still to this day. And, his family and friends, they are not entranced or charmed by Doug. In fact, some of them feel that their lives have been ravished by Doug, because he has continued to do what is shown in the film. And, I certainly didn't want to romanticize. I didn't want people to walk away. One of the things that when we made this film, man, I did not want there to be any kind of redoing of Tony Curtis in The Great Imposter. Where you see, well, what a lovable rogue he is, going from one thing to the other. The mania in Doug to keep on doing what he's been doing over 40 years, and to spend 20 years in prison for it. Some people, I didn't want to make The Great Imposter. And Doug would share with me the things that he did and why he said he did them. So why didn't we make a documentary? Because Doug's story, he wanted to tell it to you in a Dickensian fashion so that you would be engaged, because he knows that if he can engage you emotionally, that he's got you.
Well, one of the things, I think that's the key to why it is a challenging film, because you don't just present the facts, okay, and you certainly don't romanticize them, but instead, part of the film's integrity, or rather the key to the film's integrity, is that you present this guy almost 360 degrees, and it's up to the audience to figure out their relationship to such a figure. That of course is against the Hollywood grain. It's against the normal Sundance grain as well. At least now it is. And that is the essential challenge of the film, I think. How do we respond to this figure? How do we respond to his sociopathy? And as always when you watch a movie, what has that got to do with me? I think every good movie makes you ask yourself that question. What has it got to do with me and how I live my life and how I relate to people? And that of course is the scariest challenge about film art. But you get it, and that's part of the strength. That is the strength of the film, I think. I sometimes when I'm watching it, I think, well, it's a comedy, but it isn't only a comedy. In fact, it's a comedy where the last stake in your foot.
Yeah, and when the film was first distributed, there was a lot of discussion with the distributor about, should we market this as a comedy or as a drama, or we use the word dramedy. And ultimately, I think that the distributor that we initially worked with in 1990 wanted to use comedy because they felt that it would lessen the film's odious qualities by saying, well, this is just a comedy, folks, so, you know, it's very accessible and we can laugh. But, you know, that whole thing about we don't know how to market it, yeah, we heard that a lot 20 years ago. But, you know, I'm sure you guys all, well, most of you probably don't, you're too young to remember, but, you know, like in the early 70s, they marketed pet rocks and made millions. I make this point in the article that I wrote for Red Channels. You know, they can market anything. They didn't want to market Chameleon Street.
Okay, there's a documentary opening this week called Great Directors by a woman who went to film school at NYU, and she begins the film. She interviews directors like Bertolucci and David Lynch and then Lessers, and she begins the film saying that she thought she knew who these directors were. And then she interviews them and she says, I discovered that I didn't know anything about them at all. And I thought, boy, she's really ignorant. Because you have to, because you do learn the personality of an artist from his work. And you didn't have to tell us who Eric Dupin was you, because clearly a good deal of what happens in Chameleon Street is you. And your obviously in your feelings about society, masculinity, success, seduction, work. I mean, it's your work of art. So but I would like to close to say that Sundance was history, but Chameleon Street was tonight, and Chameleon Street is in the present, actually.